I went record shopping the other day and bought something that I hadn't bought in a while. Got a couple bootlegs. We're going to talk about it. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome to Northern Revolutions. I'm Rob. Welcome back if you're returning. Welcome if you're new. As I mentioned off the top, we're going to chat about bootlegs today. For those that have been collectors for a while, you probably have some. But for those that are new to the hobby, you may not know what a bootleg is. Well, a bootleg is an unauthorized recording, something that the artist or the label has not permitted for release, but has made its way out into the world anyway. Now, there really is one real kind of bootleg and another one that gets mislabeled as a bootleg. A bootleg generally is a performance that, a live performance that wasn't previously available, alternate versions of songs, unreleased songs, that kind of stuff that the artist has recorded but not authorized for release. That is a bootleg. But there's another type of recording that also gets called a bootleg, and it's not. And those are, counterfeit records, pirated records. I'll give you a couple examples. The most famous pirated counterfeit record out there is Introducing the Beatles on VJ. Thankfully, this is a legitimate copy, but this is probably the most counterfeited record out there. There are more fake ones than there are real ones. Somebody or multiple people duplicated them, recreated them, and tried to pass them off as the original in order to make a buck. This is not a bootleg. This is a pirated record. I'll give you another example. I bought this in the late 90s, suspecting that it might be a pirated or counterfeit record, but this was in the very early days of eBay, before we had Discogs, so it was kind of buyer beware. That's Oasis, What's the Story, Morning Glory. At this time, when I bought this, there was only the original 1995 pressing, which I couldn't find, didn't have, and I didn't think I would ever be able to own this record on vinyl, but I saw this listing on eBay, and it was a little vague. The price was right. I bought it, and I suspected that it probably was counterfeit, and it is. I mean, the cover looks okay, but when you get to the back and you look at the fine print on there, yeah, that's not legit. That's someone has scanned it and reproduced it. But you know what? In 1996 or 7, whenever I bought this, I went, well, at least I have it on vinyl. Maybe someday I'll have a legitimate one. So again, another example of a pirated record, a counterfeit record that someone tried to pass off as a legitimate thing. This is not a bootleg, and this is not what we're talking about today. So why have I wasted 3 or 4 minutes on it? I don't know. So I'm going to show you some bootlegs that I have in my collection. Not that I have a ton. I have some. I've got some on CD. I'm not going to show them, but I'm just going to show you some of the vinyl ones. And I'll start with the ones that I picked up a couple days ago at one of my local record stores. And it's these two. This one's called Taylor Swift Ready For It, Tokyo. And this one is So It Goes, Tokyo, the last night of the Reputation tour. These are the last excerpts from the last 2 nights of the Reputation tour. Yes, I'm a Swiftie, but I actually bought these for my wife because she really loves Reputation, and I'm not really. And I said to the guy, how do they sound? Because a lot of bootlegs can sound like shit. They actually sound okay. Not a soundboard recording. It is somehow a combination of her live vocal along with the feed from her in-ear monitor. So all the vocal cues and stuff are in there, which is a little bit distracting. It doesn't sound too bad. My wife didn't like them, so, oh no, I'm gonna have to keep them in my collection, which is not the end of the world. But Prime example of a concert recording that somebody tried to make available. These are both on red vinyl. They've done a very, very nice job of the packaging, graphic inner sleeves. They're really well done. Kind of a shitty job on the cover art, but that's a whole other topic for discussion. But, reasonably good job. The pressing seems fine. Just the original audio source, not that great. Some of the first bootlegs I ever bought were Beatles bootlegs on CD. And I've got a few on vinyl that I really like, actually. And I'll share them with you. This is the first one. I've actually shown it before. This is the Decca tapes. So the Beatles auditioned in, forget the chronology exactly, early 62, I think, for Decca Records. And they recorded 15 songs in the studio for Decca. And Decca passed on the Beatles. Be a whole video just on that, I'm sure. I think, I guess Decca still owns the rights to these. I don't know. They've never been officially released. There are a couple of these that are on Anthology 1, but never released in its entirety officially by the band. So I picked this up because it's the complete Decca sessions, and they sound fantastic because these are high-quality studio recordings of the band playing some songs that are not available anywhere else. So this is probably the most desirable Beatles bootleg for me. In the vein of concert bootlegs, there was a series of bootlegs called the Live Beatles, and I just happened to get this one. I believe my dad bought it for me years ago. This is the Beatles at the Nippon Budokan Hall in Tokyo in July of '66. This is all 11 songs he performed at that show. And it's great. Taken into context what it is. Any of those Beatles concert recordings from back in the day had a ton of screaming. I mean, the Hollywood Bowl is a prime example. But I kind of like this for the historical artifact. If I remember the history, this was kind of the first time a rock band had ever played the Budokan in Tokyo, because that was it was a religious venue and had not been used for this type of thing before. So yeah, and I kind of like it. It sort of, for me, documents what Beatlemania was. There are countless bootlegs out there of the Beatles at the BBC. This one just so happens to be called Yellow Matter Custard, As Sweet As You Are. No idea what label this on because it doesn't say. You see it on the back. I mean, it's not anything really that hasn't been heard before. Most of this is on live at the BBC, one or two for the most part. But at the time when I got this, some of these were not available yet. And I have a couple of these type of Beatles bootlegs as well. This is stuff from the Get Back sessions. This is called, I don't know what language this is, Hass as Son, I guess. I don't know, probably German. I apologize if it's not. Basically just studio tape from the Get Back sessions. We've got enough of it now. There's the 7-inch that's in Let It Be Naked, and then the Peter Jackson documentary, we've been there, done that. But again, when I got this in the late 90s, there wasn't a lot of that Get Back stuff officially available like there is now. It was all bootlegs. So I have a number of Let It Be Get Back sessions bootlegs. Enough about the Beatles. There's more to music than the Beatles. Absolutely right, there is. This bootleg falls into a pretty common category, the radio broadcast. You see a lot of those. FM broadcast. That's kind of, I think, just a way of getting around saying it's a bootleg. So I picked this up just recently. I've shown this before when I picked it up. Delaney and Bonnie and Friends. This was a concert that was done, I guess, on TV in Denmark, live in Copenhagen, December 10th, 1969. This was when Delaney and Bonnie were touring with Clapton and George Harrison. On the heels of the On Tour with Eric and Clapton, On Tour with Eric Clapton and Friends album that Delaney and Bonnie officially released. This is an entire show from that. It's okay. The performance by the band is good, but the recording, it's kind of hit and miss. Another FM radio broadcast, aka Bootleg, Buckingham Nicks. This is Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks. This is called Never Going Back Again. Most people probably know Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks put out an album called Buckingham Nicks. When McFleetwood heard it, convinced them to join the band. Not quite how it happened, but you get the idea. So this was them putting on a show in the months prior to joining Fleetwood Mac, and many of the songs that are on here would go on to become Fleetwood Mac songs. So, Monday Morning, Never Going Back Again, Rhiannon, Crystal. So this was an album that was recorded from a live concert that the band played at the Morgan Auditorium in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, in January of '75. Pretty good concert, pretty good live performance. What I love about this is I've never heard another Buckingham Nicks concert other than this one. Another FM broadcast. I think the rest of the bootlegs I'm going to show are in fact to that. This is the band. This is called Palladium Circles, the classic NYC broadcast from 1976. So this was the band, according to the liner notes, a couple months before The Last Waltz. They did a show at the Palladium in New York City, and it was broadcast on WNEW-FM. Great concert. Great recording, actually. Really quite like this. As great as they were at The Last Waltz, they're equally as good on this concert, but without all their star-studded friends, which that's what makes The Last Waltz as appealing as it is. So this is just the band being the band in the waning months of their career, unfortunately. But great live performance and a pretty damn good recording. This is on clear vinyl, which is kind of cool. They did a really good job on this one. Gatefold cover, there's some notes and everything. So aside from the cover artwork being a little shitty, this is actually one of the better bootlegs that I own. Okay, yet another FM concert broadcast. This is a big one. Volume 1 and Volume 2 of At the Other End, Fleetwood Mac. This is Fleetwood Mac on the Behind the Mask tour in 1990. This was post Lindsey Buckingham, but Stevie's still in the band, so it's kind of a weird transitional lineup. This was recorded at Main Road, Manchester on the 25th of August, 1990. It's actually good. What I like about this is live Fleetwood Mac. They do a couple Peter Green songs, which is great. They do all the hits. They do stuff from the Behind the Mask tour, because it was the Behind the Mask tour. And it's comprehensive. I mean, we're talking 8 sides of vinyl here. It's a nice time capsule of that transitional lineup. Of course, they weren't as good without Lindsey Buckingham, but still an enjoyable listen nonetheless, and they still put on a pretty darn good show. These are probably some of the best bootlegs that I own. I mean, the cover work was really nice. They've done a great job on packaging. The quality of bootlegs that come out now are light years ahead of what they were 20 years ago. So Fleetwood Mac, At the Other End, Volume 1 and 2. And the last one I'm going to show, also Fleetwood Mac. This is the King Biscuit Flower Hour broadcast. King Biscuit Flower Hour was a concert radio broadcasting that was syndicated weekly, I believe. This is from the University of Connecticut, 25th of October, 75. Always struck me how uninspired this cover is, because it looks a lot like Surrealistic Pillow by Jefferson Airplane. Nevertheless, this is a concert from the self-titled Fleetwood Mac tour before Rumors. So, You know, you've got Monday Morning, you've got Rhiannon, Landslide, World Turning, and then you got a couple Peter Green songs on here as well. Great Rumors era lineup, but pre-Rumors. It's fun. There you go, folks. There's a look at just a few bootlegs. The ones that are new, you know, in the last few years, they've done a great job. Often they're on colored vinyl. Sound quality can be hit and miss depending on what the source is. The bootlegs that I have from like the 90s, not so great. But they're interesting to have for bands that you really love. I'm not endorsing buying bootlegs because that is contrary to the wishes of the artists whom are depicted on those recordings, just to be clear. But anyway, hope you found it interesting. If you've got any great bootlegs that you think are worth people hearing, drop a note in the comments. Would love to hear it. That's everything for me today, everybody. Catch you on the flip side.